Hi, today we are taking a fresh look at an old point cloud feedback technique, and I want to show you how by combining fairly simple blocks that we made in previous tutorial, we can get quite a complex system with organic movements and unusual patterns without understanding their math basis. Let's start from scratch as usual. First of all, let's set a quick feedback system using point clouds. We need point cloud generator. Let's set it to the box surface and set 200,000 points. We will use our standard setup with, we will use our standard setup with instancing. Let's set resolution to something like that. And also let's rotate each instance unit. Also, to make it look better, we will turn on shadows. Okay, now let's create a simple feedback system here. Let's set keyboard into reset our system. And here I need to set over. As we remember, feedback system allows us to manipulate with the coordinates of each point in a cyclic way. So we can, for example, rotate it in any direction or scale or something else. And last time we use that to make a custom twist using this system. But what I want to do now is to use a component that we wrote in previous tutorial. Custom twist point cloud component. Let's check again what it should do. Sorry. And here we can see that we can rotate each slice of points along a certain axis using a custom function. And if we will do it in a feedback loop, we can achieve quite an interesting results. Let's set a very small amplitude. Let's set phase to 0 and let's choose Y as a main axis. And also let's change a phase. So now we can see quite an interesting transformation with of this shape, which is kind of similar to what we can achieve in SOP context using this twist node. But also the magic begins when we start to add more these components. For example, let's choose the second one. And I want actually to rotate it along different axes. And we already got a very interesting shape with a complex patterns of movements. Changing the amplitude parameter, you can change the speed of the transformation. And we can also mix it with more simple operators. For example, we can use here point transform and also rotate this shape along a specific axis. For example, let's start with Z axis here. And also let's change a pivot to slightly change its origin at each step. So we can see that the system became even more complex. Many people note that this system is pretty similar to the strange attractors, but I'm not sure actually what it is. I don't really understand the math logic. Like, it's pretty difficult to describe the math logic of this system, but we can see that using very simple transformations, we can achieve very complex shapes. Let's also play with different operators. For example, one thing that you could do is to use meta node to transform sorry, not this one, meta, to make a transformation along only a specific axis, or you can set a values. For example, let's choose here we want to set a limit. Let's normalize it and use an x-axis to transform our shape. And we can see that only part of our shape is rotating now. And you can affect the power, the degree of this transformation, modifying this limit values. Or also very interesting way to affect this using the same meta node is to use point weight component, and let's set it here. Let's set a linear fall-off. And to understand better what will happen, I also want to colorize points based on this component. Now we see that the core is red. Let's also add a little value here. And if we switch it here and use red instead, we can see that only red points will be affected. So if we set a fall-off range here, we can see that we can control a specific points based on the distance to the center of this shape, or you can set the center using this point weight component here. And vice versa, we can invert values, and now only outer layers will be rotated. That's quite a nice transformation, and we can make this texture even more interesting using simple noise. We can, let's slightly affect the rotation, make it slower, yeah. And we can add noise in different steps of our system. For example, here we can use it here and add very small amount of it. To make the texture more tactile. The second thing we can do is actually use noise here at also very, very low values. To make a transformation even more unpredictable. And also we can affect point weight here to also achieve interesting effect here. Slightly changing the value of each point here. You also can animate noise at any step. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is that we also can use quite an interesting transformation after this twist. For example, we can combine the same layer together using different operators, and I found that if we use let's set here average, and here I want to rotate it in also X to make the system more complex. And if we set average here, we can actually hold the whole figure within a sphere. Even though we slightly change pivot at every step. We can turn it off too. It's also could be combined with noise at any stage of this system. And actually you can also control this noise using the same point weight from here. Let's try. Yeah, and you will get these interesting circles within the shape. Likewise, you can invert it and see what happens. The good thing too is also to use limit and clamp it between -1 and 1 to make edges the volume more rigid, and that's the way how we can achieve the more spheric shape out of the whole system. Also quite an interesting way to manipulate this point cloud is to use point transform after the whole system, and not only use it but use the second input, so we can transform only transform every point by using a specific values. For example, we can also use any axis to transformation. Although it's quite tricky to get a nice system, but we can try. Other thing that we can use is the same point weight component from here. So only those points within this sphere will be actually modified by this point transform. We can also invert it again here. And I think the most interesting shapes will you can achieve combining these approaches, some of which will magnet all points to the center, and the other, like this one, will upscale the whole shape, so you can mix all points all the time. And again, we can use noise here to slightly change every value and get more interesting and organic shape. And one last thing I want to show you with this technique is they can actually use my favorite level top, and let's switch it for almost all axes and activate stepping. So you can get these pretty layered shapes. Also, small tips that using other shapes, you can actually use any point cloud at a certain size for the system, and the more interesting shape you have at the start, the more unpredictable and interesting could be the result. And even using this, you could experiment and see how this system could affect different types of shapes here. For example, we can use torus and also get very, very interesting results. So this is it. I hope you like the whole tutorial. I can't wait to see your results and see you next time.